Now that we've talked about the case, the PCB, the plate, and the mounting styles of custom keyboards, now we get to talk about one of the most essential parts of any keyboard, the switches. The switches in a mechanical keyboard are what give it the mechanical name, because the switches have a mechanical mechanism that tell the computer when they are pressed or not pressed. While there are a number of different types of mechanical keyboard switches, the one that is used today is called the Cherry MX style switch. There are others though, such as Alps, electric capacitive, and buckling spring, but the Cherry MX style of switches are used in 95% of mechanical keyboards today. When it comes to the Cherry MX style switches, they are comprised of 4 parts: the leaf, spring, stem, and top and bottom housing. The leaf is a metal piece in the switch that communicates with the PCB to tell the computer when the stem hits it and activates the switch. The spring is what springs the stem back into place after it is depressed. The stem is what goes on top of the spring and what the keycap attaches to. It has legs that block the conductive current of the metal leaf when it is not pressed, but then completes the circuit when the switch is pressed down. The top and bottom housings are plastic housings that hold all the parts mentioned. The bottom housing has metal pins and legs to attach it to the PCB. Within Cherry MX style switches, there are 3 main types of switches: linear, tactile, and clicky. Linear switches are smooth with no bump or click. They have a consistently linear actuation force graph, which is where they get their name from. Tactile switches have a tactile bump when pressed to give tactile feedback, and you can see this bump in the actuation force graph. Clicky switches either have a click jacket or a click bar that add a clicky sound on top of the tactile feedback that tactile switches have. The way in which a switch becomes either linear or tactile is going to be on the legs of the stem. On linears, the legs are going to be smooth, while the tactile stem is going to have a bump in it so that it takes extra pressure to make it actuated before it gives in, giving it the tactile feedback that earns it its name. To conclude this episode, my personal recommendation for what you should do if you're stuck trying to figure out what kind of switches you want for your keyboard, I recommend you spend like 10 or 15 bucks on a mechanical key switch tester to find out what you really like. Yes, you can go onto YouTube and type in creamy thoughtky keyboard with creamy switches and find a video on YouTube of a keyboard that you like the sound of, but there are so many more factors that go into the sound of a keyboard besides just the switch choice. Just buying the same switches in the YouTube video that you like the sound test of will not produce the same results if you just slap it in your keyboard. Yes, there are characteristics of switches that will be true no matter what to an extent, but it will not produce the same results. Sound is only one aspect of a switch's characteristics that will determine how much you like it. Getting a key switch tester will let you figure out if you like linear switches, or if you like tactile switches, or if you like a heavy spring, or if you like a light spring, stuff like that. Much like everything else in this hobby, my advice can only go so far without you being able to actually try new things. But I still hope that these videos have been helpful in informing you all about custom mechanical keyboards and have helped guide you in the right direction of where to look and get an idea of what you might like.